Hello, I'm George Miller with citizensjournal.us and Citizens Journal of Ventura County. This is the Good Morning Oxnard show by KADY-TV. It's a weekly show we do on Wednesday mornings, and we're pleased to have the show hosted at the Tomas Cafe on A Street today. The food is very good here, by the way. This is our weekly newscast. First of all, happy Earth Day. Today is Earth Day. Oxnard celebrated it 2 or 3 weeks ago at Plaza Park, and you can read about that on citizensjournal.us and see pictures as well. Last night I was at the City Council meeting, and we had a very honored guest. We had Lowell Stewart Jr., who is the son of Low Stewart, the famous member of the Tuskegee Airmen from World War II, which was the first ever battalion of black aviators that was used in World War II. And they are most famous for their amazing job they did escorting bombers flying over Europe in the war. Bombers had very high attrition rate, and under the protection of the Tuskegee Airmen, they lost only 27 bombers out of 16,000 sorties, which I think is an all-time record. He had his extended family and other members of the LA chapter of the Airmen, which Lowell founded originally. Unfortunately, he was not here to accept the award, so his son came to accept him for him. And he had multiple standing ovations. People are just so impressed with what they did and this group in general. Also was announced as April 23rd is Arbor Day, and Mr. Henderson from the Parks Department accepted an award on behalf of urban forests that was given by Mayor Flynn last night. Other news, not at the meeting, but announced this week, NRG, which is the operator of the Oxnard power plants at Ormond Beach and Mandalay Beach, announced that they have submitted a formal application with the State Energy Department to build a new power plant to replace the 3 aging 55-year-old power plants that are there right now. This has been very controversial, and there have been a number of city meetings about it, and the majority of participants are opposed to the new power plant on environmental and aesthetic grounds. But on the other hand, there are also things that weigh in its favor too. Just to briefly summarize some of the things, people do not want a plant on the beach because they feel it's an eyesore and like to free up the beach as much as possible for recreational purposes. On the other side, the business people would like to see a local power source, the jobs and tax revenue that it brings in, which is in the neighborhood of about $5 million in sales tax revenues and $2.8 million in annual property taxes, about 75 jobs and about 350 jobs during the construction, and extra money coming into the city. So those are some of the things that have to be weighed. Now, another large issue is what happens with the old plants. NRG says that they are under no legal obligation to remove the existing power plants, so that would leave eyesores there that would have to be removed at very high cost. However, they said they are willing to negotiate a community services agreement that would involve removing and remediating the power plants and also possibly providing other amenities to the community in return for the community's consent to go ahead with the plant. In any case, the final decision is not up to the city, it's actually up to the State Energy Commission, but the city's opinions will probably be considered in that. You can read several stories we've written about it in the past to get more background on it. We also have a link to the actual application. We have information about the existing Mandalay plant if you're so interested and want to see that. Last week, to look at some really good news, the city marked the beginning of delivery of recycled water to the first customer, which is the city golf course. For approximately 20 years, a new plan has been in work to desalinate water, basically to recycle water and be able to reuse it for industrial, agricultural, irrigation purposes. And the 6-mile pipeline from the city water campus up to the golf course is the first ever recycling delivery in Oxnard, if not the county, I'm not sure. And it's part of a much larger program. Eventually, the system will be able to desalinate approximately 5 million gallons per day And there was talk even of selling this water to other industrial agricultural concerns within the city, and even taking wastewater from Ventura and running it through the purification facilities and selling the water product to other communities to help defray the cost of wastewater and water for Oxnard City residents. That's really good news. That's a really good idea. I'm glad to see that it's moving ahead finally after all these years and so much controversy and so much expense, in the neighborhood of about $250 million, by the way, which is paid by ratepayers. Last night we also had the first presentation of the results of the Community Action Forum, which was held on March 5th, which we previously reported on this program. You can find more on Citizens Journal or on various KADY videos of broadcasts on this event. But basically, during the forum, which had two purposes, one was to help improve community trust in the government and the police force, and the other purpose was to talk about priorities for activities by the city government and also for the budget. And they had a kind of a unique way of gathering those priorities. What they did is they put up 7 or 8 huge posters around the room that had the major proposed programs and allowed the public to vote on them by taking the little stickers that they were issued and placing on the projects that they thought were the most important. So we tabulated those votes, and in addition we looked at city priorities and legal priorities, and the manager of that project, who is Scott Whitney. Scott Whitney is now the interim assistant city manager. He was formerly the assistant police chief, and he was recruited by our city manager to work on this project and other things. Now, we had about 400 members that I counted at the city forum. The city says there were 700, so there's a difference in opinion. But no matter who's right, that's only a very small percentage of the total residents of the city. So a relatively small number of people are voting on our future, and they allowed people to do online input, received a few hundred more votes. But basically, here's how it broke down. Of the 8 major priorities, investing in our community and education, kids program, and gang prevention was the top priority with about 422 votes. Public safety, and by that I don't mean just cops and firemen, but even things like lifeguards, came in second with 65 votes. Third was improving utilities, transportation, water, and streets with 57 votes. Then next after that was parks and open space. Then strengthen the neighborhoods and community building, including libraries, public access TV, neighborhood councils. Economic development, which is needed to pay for all this, because without business in town, we won't have enough tax money or enough jobs to pay for any of this, came in with 23 votes. And then effective and innovative government came in with 19. Destination development, which is tourism, came in 7th. And last was feedback from the city council. Well, those will be input to the city budgeting process. So we had a lot of public comment on that last night, and comment also by the city council members and some staff. The basic problem is it appears we're going to have about a $10 million deficit this year if everything continues as it is. So it's going to require some major budget cuts, as there's not a lot of new revenue on the horizon and we can only borrow so much. So they have to decide over the next couple of months how to spend that money. So the way that's going to be done, they're going to be taking feedback from the council and the public at meetings, and our meetings are typically Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock, and all but the last Tuesday of the month. Department heads will be getting together and making presentations and priorities 3 times during May. Dates to be determined on council meeting nights. Then on June 16th, there'll be a public hearing to present the proposed budget, and they're hoping to approve it by June 23rd. This particular process only happens every 2 years, and on the off years, it's just a confirmation of the previous numbers. So you actually have a chance to get involved, to send your written comments, or to come to meetings, or to talk to city staff employees or council members about your priorities for the budget. That wraps up what we had this week, and good to see you all again, and we're signing off until next Wednesday. Good morning, Oxnard.